Hello, everyone. It's Julie Lefebvre here for your Macros Meet Mindfulness workshop. We are going to talk all about these two things and how they meet and how important they are when it comes to achieving your goals for long term. Now, just before we get started, let me introduce myself for those of you that don't know me, because some of you are watching here live on Facebook and some of you are watching this on YouTube. So my name is Julie Lefebvre. I am a mom of 3. I am a certified nutritionist, and I have been coaching women for over 6 years. Nutrition is my passion. Health is my passion. Now, let me ask you a few questions before we get started, because we're going to talk about macros meets mindfulness. But I want to ask you, do you ever wonder why you can follow a healthy eating plan but can't stick to it long term? Maybe you follow a plan, but you struggle to achieve your goals. So you're eating healthy, you're following the plan, but hey, I'm stuck. Like, I'm not achieving my goals. Are you struggling with mindless eating habits? If any of this sounds like you, say yes in the comments or put a hands up in the comments. Do you struggle with mindless eating habits like cravings, emotional eating, binge eating? Any of those things sound like you? Now, today's workshop is going to really help you understand how we can be more mindful about our nutrition moving forward to help us achieve our goals long term. Okay, so what are macros, first of all? Hey, Amanda, mindless eating habits. Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. So macros, first of all, are macronutrients. So these are the macronutrients that our bodies need to function at its most optimal. It's not a diet. It doesn't matter what dieting plan you are on, right? Any food you eat fits one of those macros, or it falls into multiple of those macros, but the foods we eat that we consume are either a carb, a fat, or a protein. There are macronutrients. Our bodies utilize each of those macronutrients in a different way. They help our bodies function. They help our bodies run for different reasons, right? Our fats, we need them for hormone health, for brain health. We need protein for cell repair, cell growth, for muscle growth. If you're wanting to build lean muscle, you need to eat protein. You need to prioritize your protein. Carbohydrates, we need them. That is the body's main fuel source. So we need carbohydrates. So don't cut them out. We need carbohydrates. So macronutrients, we can eating healthy, but we could also have not the right balance of our macronutrients. So we might not be, I talk to so many women who completely cut out carbohydrates, or they completely cut out fats, and our bodies need each of those macronutrients for different reasons. And all together, when we get that balance, this is when we notice our body starts to function more optimally. We have more energy, right? We also need to make sure that we're eating enough food. That's really important. But the best thing about macros is that it can be applied to any goal, no matter what goal you have, whether it's fat loss, whether it's to maintain, or whether it's to gain muscle. You can apply macros to any one of those goals. So which of these goals are you currently working towards? So put it in the comments below. Are you currently working towards fat loss? Are you currently working towards maintaining? Or are you currently working towards muscle gain? So which of these are you working towards? So put it in the comments. Okay, so we don't just count macros. When it comes to my Fueled for Life program, thanks, Amanda. So when it comes to my Fueled for Life program, we don't just count macros. We prioritize healthy habits for lasting change. We prioritize healthy habits for lasting change. So Mindful Macros is designed to bring awareness to your current lifestyle. Okay, so that's the biggest piece, is we want you to become aware of those healthy habits or maybe unhealthy habits that are moving you away from your goals, right? We want to create the habits that are going to move us in the direction of our goals, that create a healthy lifestyle, that's something that we can stick to long term, that's something that we can adhere to, or that is sustainable long term. That's the goal. I don't want my clients to feel like they're on a diet or dieting. Now I'm going to explain the difference between those two words in a minute. I want you to feel like this is something that is manageable, something that you can maintain, something that you can adhere to long term, so you never feel like you are dieting. A lot of those diet plans ask you to restrict things like calories or certain food groups, cut them out completely. But what happens after the dieting is over is you end up going back to those old habits and adding those things back in. Then we see the weight gain, right? Or we add calories back in. If we've been restricting our calories for too long, we add the calories back in, and then we end up gaining the weight back. That we want to do strategically through a reverse diet so that we don't just gain the weight back. We want to slowly increase our calories to maintenance. That is a whole other video, and I have done a workshop on reverse dieting, so you can watch it, and if you'd like to, let me know and I will send it your way. But it is also part of our Strong Her group, so you can find it in there. But so we want to create these lasting, long habits. Our nutrition. So let's talk mindfulness. So what is mindfulness? So it's a technique that helps us gain control over our eating habits, because so many women I hear will say, like, I eat really healthy, but not at night, I'm binging, or, I eat healthy all week, but on weekends I just don't track and I just eat whatever I want, and then I'm not seeing any results. I see a lot of people who come to me who say they've done programs. They've seen really, really great results, but once the program is over, then they go back to old habits, or they just, they stop tracking, or they start adding foods in that were restricted from the program they were doing, and then they end up gaining the weight back. So, a lot of things like emotional eating, binge eating, cravings, right? We feel like we don't have control over them. Put your hand up if you've ever felt like there's a certain food or treat or snack that you cannot have in your house because you don't have control over. So if you eat one, you're just going to eat the whole bag, or if you have it in your house, you're just going to eat it. And so you try to restrict it by not bringing it in the house, or only having it at certain times of the year where you just end up going crazy over it anyway. Let me know if that ever happens to you. So, and that's definitely something that I used to struggle with. Granola bars. I eat the whole box in one day. Okay. So thank you for sharing that, Amanda. So, you're not alone in that. A lot of women have a certain, and it might not be a treat, right? It doesn't have to be chocolate or chips or something. It could be just having bread in your house, right? If you don't feel like you have control over carbs, or you feel like you can't have them because for some reason someone has told you that carbs are bad, or, if there's a certain food that you restrict because you think it's unhealthy or has too much sugar. I was talking with a client today who was talking about, she had extra carbs in her day, and so she went and had a banana, but her initial thought was, bananas are unhealthy, they make us fat. And that is an old limiting belief that she had, that, so this happens often. What are the limiting beliefs that we have that come in? So that's another piece that we work through in my Fueled for Life program with my clients. But we want to work on the mindfulness. We need to have that awareness around our food and our food habits. So it helps us create positive habits to help us recognize and cope with emotions and physical sensations. So if you ever feel stressed and you go to food, right? So we want to be able to have that awareness of how you're feeling, what sensations are you having right now, so that we can approach food differently. So we can approach and cope with that emotion in a different way versus going and grabbing food to heal it or to suppress it. So it gives you full attention to experience your cravings, your physical and emotional cues when eating. A lot of people don't have those cues, especially if you've been dieting for so long. Dieting will remove those hunger cues, especially if you're following rigid, restrictive plans. You might not think it is, but if you are, it will take away those hunger cues. Have you ever like barely eaten anything in a day and said, like, I just don't feel hungry, right? Your body has lost its sensation and awareness around your hunger cues because you've been dieting for so long. So I just want to clarify those words though for you for a minute. Diet and dieting. Everybody has a diet. What a diet is the way you eat. That's a diet, right? How you eat. The foods you consume is your diet. The negative word is dieting, the act of dieting, trying to lose weight. This is what we're referring to when I talk about diet versus dieting, okay? So if you hear me use the word diet, I'm not talking about fat loss and you trying to achieve some, restrictive, diet plan. I'm talking about the way you eat. I'm going to use the word dieting for those that go on a diet plan that is solely for losing weight, fat loss, and includes restriction. So there's a lot of dieting plans out there that are very restrictive, that restrict either calories, so they're telling you to eat, 1,200 calories. I mean, I would even claim that some of them that put you in a 1,500 calorie range is way too low for you. Where it's restricting food groups, where it's telling you not to eat certain foods, cutting down carbs. A restrictive plan would be one that tells you to cut down carbs, cut out sugar, all those things. If it's asking you to restrict on something, then that is dieting. Now, you can diet. You could have a diet plan that puts you into fat loss. All you need is a caloric deficit, a slight caloric deficit. So it's really important that you understand the difference between those two words. So when we're dieting, we often lose our cues and tend to lose control over our eating habits, right? We want what we cannot have. We lose that sensation. We lose that awareness when we are dieting for too long, because we're restricting foods and everything goes wonky and we want the things we cannot have and we lose that control over our foods. So we want to teach you how to be more mindful when it comes to eating. Eating slowly without distraction. So not having the phone or the TV or a tablet on while we're eating, right? Turn the distraction off, eat, so that you can be more mindful about what you're eating. Listening to the physical cues, hunger cues, fullness cues. Am I feeling full? Am I feeling hungry right now? Right? There are times when I've finished a meal and said, I'm actually still hungry, so I'm going to get myself something else to eat. There are times when I have filled my plate for what I needed for my macros, and I've said, I'm actually really full right now. I'm not going to finish my plate. How many of you, hands up, grew up with parents who said you have to finish your plate? Finish your plate, eat everything on your plate. When you've eaten everything off your plate. I've had times where when I was little, I had to sit at the table. I was the last one to get up and we were at like a family gathering. So there were 12 kids there of the 3 families that were gathered. I was the last one left at the table of 12 kids and I wasn't allowed to leave until I had completed my plate. And I remember just chewing on this chicken and it was so dry and gross. But we had been taught, and it wasn't like, I don't see it as my parents were horrible people or anything like that, but they were just doing what they thought as parents was great. And it's finish your plate. You want to eat. You need to eat what we've given you. We've made this for you, eat. But what happens when we are just taught to finish our plate is we lose those hunger cues and fullness cues. So we want to be more aware. We want to sit and listen and be aware of what is our body telling us. Am I hungry? Am I full? You are going to learn the difference by being more mindful when you're eating, the difference between a hunger cue and a non-hunger trigger, right? There are triggers that we get that where we feel like we're hungry, but is it our emotions? Are we stressed out? What is going on that is having us feel, is this a hunger cue or is this a non-hunger trigger, right? So being more mindful and aware, you have to start listening to what your body is telling you. Learning to cope with anxiety about food, right? So many women are afraid to eat carbohydrates, afraid to eat bananas, afraid to eat sugar because for so long they've been told these are all bad things. They'll make you gain weight. You're going to be fat if you eat them. So we need to cut them out. We need to restrict them. You cannot have them. These are bad. What are old limiting beliefs that you have around food that has created anxiety around these foods? I used to be really restrictive with my food and would only eat clean. I only ate clean food. If it wasn't clean, it wasn't healthy, I don't eat it. If I did ever eat it, then I always felt guilty or I would lose control over it. I would eat more and more and more and not to the point of binging, but I would eat it. Right? And because I lost that control over it, I had anxiety around food. I needed to know what was in my food. And when I finally let go of that and learned that all foods fit, that anxiety around food went away. I gained my life back and I gained control over food back. Food does not control me. I get to choose what I feel like eating. I get to choose if I'm full or not full, right? I listen to my body. If I feel like having chocolate, I'm going to have some chocolate because that is what I'm feeling like. And I listen to my body's cues. It tells me I'm feeling full on this chocolate now. I don't need the whole bag or the whole chocolate bar or the whole package. I can have some and put it back and be satisfied. I get to enjoy it more. Have you ever eaten something and been like, oh my gosh, where did that all go? I've already finished it all. Like, how many bowls did I have? And not even remember the sensation of that food. Being more mindful about food with your food allows you to enjoy it more. You get to taste the food. You get to enjoy every piece and moment of it. So now I enjoy all foods. All foods fit. Yesterday I had a big handful of mini eggs and I don't feel stressed that they're in stores now and it's not even Easter yet because I know that I'm not going to binge on a bag. I can have it in my house and still enjoy it. Some here and there. I can enjoy it every day if I want. I can enjoy it once a week if I want, but it's there and it doesn't have control over me. I can have some, enjoy it, and move on. So we learned by eating mindfully, we learn to maintain our overall health and well-being. Why? Because we no longer restrict things. We allow all foods to fit, but we're more mindful about, what does food do for our body? It fuels it. This is where that piece of macros come in, right? Macros is what our bodies need to function at its most optimal. I'm aware that I need carbohydrates. I'm aware that I need fats. I'm aware that I need protein. What is each one doing? And it's helping me with my overall health and well-being. So I need to make sure I'm more mindful about choosing those foods, what foods I choose to eat. And you notice the effects of foods on how you're feeling and your figure, right? What foods are causing me to bloat? What foods are causing me to feel vibrant? What foods are fueling my soul? That's the foods that we want as well, right? We don't want to restrict and cut those out. We also want to include foods that fuel our soul. So being more mindful about what we're eating. But one of the biggest things I teach is flexibility. And I've talked about this a little bit on today's workshop. But so when we pair macros with mindfulness, you can have the flexibility with your food without feeling out of control. You can have the flexibility with your food without feeling out of control. Because a lot of women say to me, that's great. Like, I love that you offer flexibility with your food, but I can't have that. If I have that, I'm going to be out of control. Well, you have to pair the macros and mindfulness together. That's where they meet. When you learn to be more mindful about your choices, mindful and become more aware of how your body's feeling, how the emotions that you're feeling, the stress, and learning how to cope with that stuff, and be more mindful about the food and your food choices, be more mindful about your hunger cues, fullness cues. When you are more mindful with food, you can allow the flexibility with your nutrition without feeling out of control. You get to take your control back when it comes to food and your nutrition. So that is the best piece, is because then you can start to allow those foods that you've demonized or restricted for so long, you can start to include them back into your nutrition and fuel plan, right? There's foods that fuel our body and there's foods that fuel our soul. We want to eat more nourishing foods. We want the foods that fuel our soul. I'm all about making things from scratch and eating whole food nutrition. But I'm also about including the foods that fuel my soul. And what happened was I lost that when I took those foods away and restricted myself from foods that fueled my soul. A piece of my soul left, right? You become hangry, moody, you're tired, low energy, right? You're so hyper focused on the restriction and what you can't have versus what you can add to your life to make it better. What foods can I add to my plan instead of take away from my plan? What can I add instead of take away from my fuel plan? That's what we need to focus on. So you can still achieve your goals while enjoying the foods you love, like pizza, chocolate, s'mores, carbs. Eat the carbs. They give you energy. So you can still enjoy all those things while achieving your goal, whether it's maintenance, whether it's fat loss, whether it is muscle building. You can do that with macros, mindfulness, and the flexibility piece. So if you want to achieve fat loss for good, enjoy foods guilt-free, and never fail at dieting again, then the Fueled for Life program is for you. If you are done with the restriction, if you're done with the deprivation, if you want to learn how to create healthy habits for long-term sustainable results, then the Fueled for Life program is for you. So I want to let you know that I am now accepting applications for March. I have not opened this up to anybody outside of the group yet. So I'm opening it up to you. I only have 5 spots for March. So I'm opening it up here in the Stronger community. I will post the application down below. I will also post it up above. If you are interested, fill out the application. We will get on a phone call and chat about it. Filling out the application doesn't make you have to pay anything. It doesn't commit you to anything. It just gets you on a phone call with me. We can consult about your goals, your struggles, and see if you are a good fit for the Fuel for Life plan, and see if the Fueled for Life plan is a good fit for you. Because I will be honest, it is not for everyone. But if it is the right fit for you, I will be open and honest. And if it isn't the right fit for you, if you're not the right fit for it, then I will be open and honest with you as well. Because it is a one-on-one coaching program. And I want to make sure that this is a good fit, you and I, before we work together for the 12-week program. So I will put the link in the comments and above, and you can fill out the application. We can get on a call and we can go from there. So hope you guys enjoyed today's workshop and have a great rest of your day.